Okay. Let's get some real political ideology up in here.
Megan, let's start with first principles. What, to your mind, is democratic socialism?
Yeah, so just very simply, it is people having a democratic say-so in all of the things that they need to survive. So democratic control of their workplace, democratic control of their housing, and democracy in what we already know as democracy in the political process.
Okay. So that proposes about 1 million questions. What does democracy in the workplace mean? Does everybody get to vote on what we're going to do today, tomorrow, and the next day?
The way we look at it is mostly probably pretty similar to how a unionized workplace would work today. You get to collectively decide with your coworkers what demands you want to make of your boss, what your schedule looks like, what your working environment looks like, and negotiate collectively with whoever the boss is.
Okay, but that sounds like simple unionization, which we already have, even though unions are not in the best spot they've ever been in this country.
That's true. So we'd like to see everybody have a union. Right now, it's quite low. It's in the teens, I think, percentage of unionized workplaces. We think everybody should have a union of some sort.
Wow.
And what does it mean for the larger economics of a country? For example, Google or Apple or, the biggest corporations in the country. Are they no longer privately owned under democratic socialism?
Well, that's a good question, and we specifically say that the industries that you need, right? So your necessary industries. So power. I would say that the internet is a necessity at this point. You can't really function without it. Water, things like this. A lot of these things are public in some places. We want them public everywhere.
Do you believe in owning the means of production, as the Marxists used to say?
I do, yeah.
But you speak for whom?
Well, I speak for the Democratic Socialists of America, and I think that you will find the demand long term for the working class to be in charge of the means of production is one that is pretty universally held. Again, we're not trying to flip a switch so that everything changes tomorrow. We're thinking about ways you can incrementally make life better for starters, but also shift the balance of power from the billionaire class to the working class.
Okay, so what is the difference between democratic socialism and what exists in a lot of Europe, which I would call social democracy, which is to say a greater emphasis and maybe a higher tax rate in order to have things like what we would call Medicare for all or single payer or either free or radically less expensive higher education. And I think, and I'm going to take a wild guess here, if you were using that vocabulary instead of the socialism category, you might have more adherence.
Maybe, but the reality is that we do not think that we're not fighting for a kinder, gentler capitalism. We think that a democracy that's really controlled by the working class is the ultimate goal. Social democracy.
When you say we, forgive me, Megan, but when you say we, how is that stance arrived upon? Who's we?
That's a great question and one that I love to talk about. So D.S.A. is fundamentally and sometimes excruciatingly democratic. The highest decision-making body of the Democratic Socialists of America is our convention. It happens every 2 years. Chapters elect delegates. We come together, vote on a bunch of proposals that may or may not shift our overall strategies or our overall stances on some things.
And these are representatives from a base of how many people?
Well, right now, I think we're at 129,000 people. But we have grown significantly since Zoran Mamdani's election, which came after our last convention. And then we're seeing a growth spurt recently with the recent congressional primary wins as well.
It's very interesting to me that maybe the highest profile political race that we're now seeing nationally for the midterm elections on the left is the ascent in the state of Michigan of Abdul El-Sayed, who, when I asked him about democratic socialism, said, no, I'm a capitalist. You disappointed?
He's not a D.S.A. candidate. If he was a D.S.A. candidate, I would absolutely be disappointed. But I'm glad that there is a movement sort of across the board of people taking on some of these policies, because I do think they will improve life for the working class. But
what is the working class in this country? Because Zoran Mamdani, mayor of New York, just gave an interview, I believe, to the New York Times, and he was asked, please define the working class. And he said anybody making under $1 million a year, which I got to tell you was news to me.
Yeah, that is not how I would define the working class.
How would you define it?
So we're coming out of a socialist tradition where class is defined based on
relationship to
your
capital.
relationship to capital.
Nice.
And so the working class is essentially people who make a paycheck.
So if I'm a dentist, I can't be working class.
Well, it depends. Are
If you
you
own a
a
private
dentist
practice.
who is working for a corporation and selling?
Keep in mind that means a lot of, like, when you hear plumbers and electricians say they make $400,000, it's usually because they own a plumbing business or whatever. They would also be capitalists and not working class.
Your labor and getting paid hourly, or are you a dentist who owns your dental practice? It does get fuzzy around that edges. There's a lot of socialist theory happening right now about gig work and how these sort of, like, technically a gig worker works for themselves, but they're obviously not really the ownership class. So there's definitely a hot topic of debate. But the simple definition is, do you make a paycheck, or do you make money off other people working for you, or renting a place that you own? Are you making the money from the payoff of your capital investments, or are you making it because you sell your labor?
So let's dig down a little bit here. The D.S.A. refused to endorse Hillary Clinton over Donald Trump in 2016. Mm-hmm. You happy about that decision?
I think it would have hurt our credibility a bit as people who are actually standing for socialism and against neoliberalism.
Yeah, but on the other hand, you let an authoritarian through the door. I mean, I'm not blaming you specifically.
Yeah.
A lot of factors
for
went
them.
into it.
Yeah.
Did you stay
They view
home
them
in
as similar.
2016?
They don't care that much.
I didn't. No.
You voted?
No. I voted for Hillary Clinton, and I voted for Joe Biden in 2020.
So why did you do that against the recommendation of the organization?
Well, I wasn't a D.S.A. member in 2016, first of all. But I did believe in a harm reduction vote. But I don't think that the couple 100,000 socialists are the ones who swung that vote. It's the millions of people who stayed home because all they were being offered was kind of a rainbow flag painted version of the same thing.
Well, in fairness, millions of people stay home every election. I mean, it's a sort of shameful
and we
part
think
of
that's a huge problem. A big part of our strategy
Mandatory
is
voting?
trying to engage people who do not vote regularly, who do feel disenfranchised by the system in general.
Kamala Harris versus Donald Trump, no endorsement.
Yeah.
You agreed with that?
Yeah, I voted on that statement. I was a member of the National Political Committee.
Tell me about your rationale.
Wait, there's no way. I know she said she didn't mention 2024. Would she have voted for Kamala but not had the D.S.A. endorse Kamala? I guess that could have been. I wonder what the different calculation is.
D.S.A. members, I think, certainly in swing states, voted for Kamala Harris, I believe. But we felt that our credibility really stood on saying, we are socialists. We are offering you a real alternative. I didn't think that our endorsement would really make a difference one way or the other.
I hope he pushes her on this. This is such a stupid double world that people like Hassan, or it's the age-old content creator bind, where, when other content creators have audiences that are harassing you, Hassan did this with XQC, you go and you cry to the content creator, you say, rein in your fucking audience. But then when you're asked to control your audience, you say, well, I mean, I don't think I have much of an impact anyway. I don't think that, I can't control everybody. Like, everybody's going to do what they'll do. And, who's to say what my influence over anything is? It's such a stupid, cucked position of at the end of the day, what influence does little old me have? Come on.
And I don't think it would have. I think, again, people don't vote because they feel totally locked out, not because D.S.A. told them to or to not vote for.
So your endorsement means
for
nothing?
A presidential candidate. When we endorse somebody, that doesn't just mean we're putting a rubber stamp on it anyway. It means that we are turning out our people to hit the doors and hit the phones and really do a major voter outreach operation. And we weren't going to do that for Kamala Harris. Mm-hmm. And I don't know that it would have made a difference if we had.
Well,
and I don't know that she wanted it.
This article in Jacobin, which is, I think a DSA-aligned journal, it's called A Blueprint for a New Party.
Jacobin
and it said
is
the
a
goal is not to
wacky
immediately
publication.
form a third party, which is seen as suicidal in America's two-party tyranny, but to, quote, mount the electoral equivalent of guerrilla insurgency, unquote, by using the Democratic Party line.
We do love to talk like that, don't we?
that a good idea, Megan?
I think people like us being rather bold. I think the boldness
So
actually.
it's sort of the badass imagery.
Someone's got to be. People are furious about Trump and the Democratic Party. I mean, James Carville's writing op-eds that say "roll over and play dead." Like, what is that? People want a fighter, and I think they appreciate that we just come right out and say it.
So before we came on, we alluded to the fact that you were just on Fox News and you read a series of
insane
statements. You very
eagerly,
cheerfully responded yes, without any embarrassment to
all of them.
This series of issues.
Crazy,
I think
wacky
open
things.
borders was one. Why are you for open borders? I think to a lot of ears it sounds like
Why did Hassan latch himself to Abdul if he isn't a socialist, isn't in California, etc.? Why is he just Muslim/progressive? And like, why do the D.S.A. people like Abdul if he's a capitalist? Well, the D.S.A. people like him because of the APAC, anti-APAC. For Hassan, you're thinking way too hard. Think way more simpler. Okay.
a John Lennon song, not a political reality.
Well, John Lennon was very popular.
Yeah.
I think, again, all of these policy points, they're all part of this long-term goal where we are putting huge amounts of resources into alleviating poverty, into stopping destabilization of countries internationally that are causing huge migrant flow. But most people in the U.S. are here because of a prior period of unrestricted immigration or of much looser immigration. We put caps on certain countries and don't allow migration from other countries, and then kind of wide open for some countries.
I understand that, but people would argue back and say, okay, that there may be deep flaws in both the history and the system of immigration. Mm-hmm. Why not correct those flaws and make them more just, but by just throwing the gates open, whether it's the gates of prisons or the gates of immigration, that chaos will ensue. I think you probably get that argument a lot.
Sure, and we're not saying throw the gates open. We're saying let's do that. Let's look at where the system is really flawed, really problematic.
I think that's called immigration reform.
It is, but we think that you have to look at all of these things from first principles, right? We started here from first principles. So what do we want out of an immigration system? Let's start there. That doesn't mean thinking from just throwing open the borders and then building from the ground up. It means reforming the system we have while we rethink the system, while we build this new one from the ground up, and then hopefully eventually flipping the switch.
Do you believe there should be millionaires in this country?
I'm less concerned about millionaires, more concerned about billionaires. I don't have like a hard line where it's where
How
you're
much?
good.
It's really hard to draw that hard line because, well, all of the socialists keep getting wealthier and wealthier. So it's really hard when we draw that line. I don't know why her answer, they shouldn't, I don't want to say anything. I don't want to give any tips. You should never have to say as a socialist, I want to get rid of all billionaires, or I think that all billionaires are unethical because they're billionaires. The answer should be, in my system, we would get rid of all billionaires because it is impossible to become a billionaire except by the byproduct of the insane amount of capital that you own. And our goal is to reduce the amount of the concentration of capital to owners and increase the share of capital to laborers. So in our system, it just wouldn't really be possible that any individual could acquire so much capital because they'd have to be working as well. And that's why all the billionaires probably wouldn't exist. Not because we would get rid of billionaires, but because we would change the system, right? This is supposed to be, I think, the best socialist answer, but whatever.
What I'm asking is, how much is too much?
Yeah, I think the question is less about how much is too much and more about what are you doing to keep and maintain and get
okay. She's getting there, I guess. Okay.
that wealth in the first place. I think most billionaires got their wealth because they exploited the working class in some very significant way, usually. Are we exploiting people is the bigger question, as opposed to some sort of arbitrary red line of you can have this much money or not have that much money. But we do believe in taxing the hell out of millionaires. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, what does taxing the hell out of them mean?
I don't have like a solid, but I think.
But shouldn't you?
Thank you for asking that, because this isn't just like a random lol socialist off the street. This is the co-chair, the co-chair of the D.S.A. who agreed to go on this show, probably to talk about her being the co-chair and what the D.S.A. believes in. You should be able to answer these questions. You should be able to do this.
I mean, if you're the
that's a good
co-chair,
question.
if you're
Thank
the
you. Yes,
co-chair
yes.
of the
Correct.
D.S.A,
That's right.
shouldn't you be more specific than just
Yeah.
taxing the hell out of something?
Yeah, maybe.
What
Should you
exactly
have
do
some
you mean?
fucking idea about what you're talking about? Maybe, possibly. Maybe?
So
A
again,
little bit?
it's democracy, right? And we have to look at
it's
what we need to
democracy.
spend
Oh.
and what we need. We don't want to depend on the existence of millionaires because that means people are still getting exploited. So yeah, we need to look at what we need to pay for in the interim, what sort of tax base we need for that to happen, and then and build from there.
Is support of Israel in any form essentially a red card in D.S.A? As I understand it, in 2024, D.S.A.'s National Political Committee withdrew its endorsement of Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez over her support for a House resolution stating that denying Israel's right to exist is a form of anti-Semitism. And her local chapter stuck with her. And this was an argument that continued on. Where are you on it?
Yeah, so that was like a very complicated and very like inter-D.S.A bureaucratic question, but convention decided that, yeah, this is a solid red line. No defense or economic support for Israel. Very significant way.
So why not explain what that was? Why are you just saying it was complicated? Yes, you're the leader or the co-leader of the national org. Then explain it. Like, what do you...
And this was an argument that continued on. Where are you on it?
Yeah, so that was like a very complicated and very like inter-D.S.A bureaucratic question, but convention decided that, yeah, this is a solid red line. No defense or economic support for Israel.
Does Israel have the right to defend itself, according to D.S.A? What is the position that D.S.A is headed toward here? Is it for a two-state solution? Is that or is it a binational one-state solution? What in fact is the position?
We don't do two-state any here. Or we don't do two-state anymore here, okay? That's the bad position, all right?
Of D.S.A?
Yeah, so our position is a free Palestine with the capital in Jerusalem. And so I think that could be safely read as a one-state solution.
No, not necessarily. The Jerusalem is one of the biggest contention points because you have Jerusalem proper, or I don't know if that's mean to say Jerusalem proper, and then you have, they'll call it East Jerusalem, or they'll call it the Old City of Jerusalem, is like the other part. And theoretically, I think up through 67, when did the Jews take over East Jerusalem? Was that after 67? I think it was after 67, right? They didn't have it before then. But theoretically, both halves could be owned by different people.
So the Camp David Accords that were being negotiated at the beginning.
Oh my God, this guy knows.
Who is this guy? What's his name?
He knows
Shout
this.
him out.
He knows some facts, just a few, but just some facts. Oh my goodness.
Solution.
So the Camp David Accords that were being negotiated at the beginning of the century under the Clinton administration, had the Palestinians accepted it, that would have satisfied you.
Good question. I need to look at what the actual specifics there were. I don't know them off the top of my head, but
How can you make Israel-Palestine a red line for you in terms of what you think is acceptable for a candidate to endorse and not know literally fucking it's impossible to read anything about Israel-Palestine without knowing about the Camp David Accords. That's impossible. It's almost not quite as bad, which is impressive. It's almost as weird as Hassan not knowing what the Western Wall was several months ago. I have no possible idea how you could not know that, or what was being negotiated, or what happened there at all.
So when you say, does Israel have the right to defend itself? Peoples have the right to live in safety. Absolutely. But if that safety means doing genocide to somebody else, then no, that's not defensible.
Oh.
Daria Lisa Avila Chevalier recently won a primary election in New York City, and is almost sure to win the general election. She attended an October 8th pro-Palestinian, pro-Hamas rally, which many people saw as a justification of the October 7th attack. And some of her tweets have been extremely ugly on this score and on others. Do you fully support her in all these activities and what she's had to say?
I think Daria Lisa can speak for herself, certainly, and I think she's apologized for
Hold on. That Daria Lisa was and explicitly supported and dues-paying member of even the D.S.A. national chapter, right? Does anybody know? Because if she is, then what do you mean she can speak for herself? She's part of your organization. You should be able to have an opinion on that as well, no?
Some pieces of that and has been
not for attending that rally.
Unapologetic about other pieces of that. And
do you support her yourself in that?
Yeah, I do.
Why?
Oh, okay. Well, then.
Because
in other words,
She's a
you would
member
have gone
of the
to
New
that
York
rally.
City D.S.A. I'm not seeing if she's a member of the
national
entire one.
Okay.
Enable.
That's a good question.
To be fair, again, I'm borrowing heavily from that one email, but I'm pretty sure the New York D.S.A. is such a prominent chapter. Like it's probably more prominent than the national D.S.A. itself. So
Yes.
if the New York D.S.A. chapter is doing stuff, she should probably be able to speak to that, I would say, yeah.
Probably would have. Yeah. I don't live in New York City, so I wouldn't have.
One day after the slaughter of 1,200 people and taking of over 200 hostages, you would have come and rallied behind Hamas.
I think that October 7th was largely inevitable. If you put people in an open air concentration camp and you deprive them of rights, of dignity, of food, of the ability to live in safety, you have to expect that they are going to not take that for that long. And that is not defending
We're not gonna
any
take it.
harm of civilians or of non-combatants.
Well, sure
That
it
is. Do you think it is?
You're saying you're supporting it.
I'm saying that I think it was inevitable. I think that you cannot put people in a cage and expect them not to revolt. And I think that
It's a revolution.
That supporting the civilians, the non-combatants, the children who are being killed, that's really the primary thing.
So you live in upstate New York. You describe yourself as a Jon Stewart liberal. Tell me about your life until 2018. What were you doing? Sure. What was your mindset, and why did it change?
Absolutely true. Got most of my news from Jon Stewart. That was my primary news source. I'd read the Sunday Times and I'd read Jon Stewart, and I did read the New Yorker, and sometimes even for more than the cartoons.
I appreciate that. But what happened? What turned?
So after Hillary Clinton did not win, and I was supportive of Hillary Clinton. I was not a registered Democrat at that point. I was registered independent. And then she didn't win. And I was horrified. I was baffled. I tried to become involved in the Democratic Party. What I ended up involved in was this women's club where you'd have speakers. You weren't actually making any decisions. You were hearing people talk about a book. And that was all really frustrating because I was like, who's doing anything? What are we pushing anything toward? And a friend who was a folk musician said, we are starting this D.S.A. chapter. You should come to a meeting. And I was like, ugh, the Socialists. And I was like, all right, well, I'll come to your meeting because we're friends, but I'm not saying comrade. And I went to the meeting and I was just so relieved they were actually doing something, just anything. They had plans to just do something. We're going to lobby for this bill. We're going to do this community service activity together. We're just going to do stuff. And I was like, great. And then organizing and actually thinking constantly about what an actual change to the system. Eventually I read some theory and I didn't go to college. But most of the great socialist theorists were writing pamphlets to be distributed to factory workers. I
think what might have disturbed.
Who does she think were writing those pamphlets? What if you're going to talk about the Communist Manifesto, this was written by that was Engels and Marx, right? It's not like it was random retards writing these things. I don't know what this is like. This gives the energy of Bill Gates didn't need to go to college, so why should I?
Some people who are watching that Fox.
Also, none of your bases are factory workers anyway. They're all they're all college educated people. What the fuck?
Clip. There was a certain kind of breezy, I'm for that, and there was no detail at all. And when you come to an issue like prison abolition, and just say, yep, I'm for that, or defund the police, sure, I'm for that, it was a little startling. Now, it might have been the form of the show, so let's flip the switch here and dig down a little. What do you mean by prison abolition? We've had on this show Michelle Alexander, who wrote The New Jim Crow, and plenty of people in the Democratic.
I need some type of hope. I hate how much leeway these people are given in this interview. This is a good interview. I think this is a good, appropriately challenging
I've seen.
interview. Yeah, he's not like screaming at her, but he's asked some good questions, I think. Yeah.
Democratic Party, even in the establishment, have rejected mass incarceration, and some things have been done to bring it down. What does prison abolition mean to you?
So again, let's start from first principles, right?
Oh, first principles.
What
okay.
do we need? We need safety.
Let's
We need
not
our
begin from
community-
first principles. Let's begin from what is to be done, to use a Leninist phrase.
Okay.
No, I mean, I think you have to start from first principles, and that is the core of this. We need community safety. We need people to be safe. We need
The
people.
reason why you, by the way, don't have to start from first principles is because unless you're going to take this in a radically different direction, you can just assume that all of these first principles are going to be agreed upon. Like, it's weird to say, let's start from first principles and then say literally the most milquetoast agreeable shit on planet Earth. Like, all of our communities need to be safe. Like, okay, thanks, I guess. Okay.
People to be able to live their lives without fear of being assaulted, without fear of being robbed,
Oh,
without
okay.
fear of violence.
Okay, good first principles. Okay. I guess.
Communities do we know are the safest? It's not communities with cops on every corner. It's communities that have good schools, good jobs, good park systems, good recreation.
Yes. Cops do not prevent crime. Cops are there to deal with crime in progress. More cops in an area, I mean, technically saying cops can prevent crime, but not really, right? Obviously, having people that are wealthy, healthy, are productive members of society, that's all better. But by the time the police are involved, I think you're a little bit past that point.
They're teenagers, things like that. Those are the safe communities.
What does defunding the police mean in your mind?
Every year, police budgets go up. Every year, there's a backlog of rape kits that don't get tested.
Should they be?
Everybody's budget goes up. It's called inflation. I don't know.
Maintained?
I am not in favor of getting rid of police entirely tomorrow.
It's like every new adjunct entirely tomorrow. Okay.
No, defunding the police means no funding. I think that's
I don't think
plain
so.
English.
I think
Well, tell me
it
what
means
Yeah.
I think it means taking funding back and moving it elsewhere. Right. So pulling some of that funding back
what
and moving
extent?
it elsewhere.
I think you might be wrong about the working class demographics. Many are the Bernie supporters. A tax-assessed coworker of mine is not supporting a wealth tax. Sure, dude, we have fucked ourselves so hard on stupid fucking euphemisms, right? I talk about this a lot with the African-American thing, but like we also did this with the working class thing. Like I feel like working class came as a result of people not wanting to say lower class, because we have like the middle class and you've got your upper class or your elites. We'll say middle there, but nobody really wants to say like lower class because that kind of sounds kind of weird. So then they changed it to like working class. But I think working class, at least when I was growing up, and it still does today, working class heavily connotates like blue collar or service retail type stuff. Now, I'm not saying that people don't have their own problems or issues if they're like doing, software work or sit down white collar work or like in an office work. But there's a different type of way that we used to refer to those people. I'm not trying to dog was like we call them losers or whatever. I'm just saying like it wasn't necessarily thought of as like being in the same cohort there because generally their concerns are different as well.
The extent to which we are fully funding social services, to which we are fully funding schools, lunch programs for kids, after school programs for kids. Communities should be clean and they should be safe. We should be funding
Like, what are you describing here that's not a standard part of the Democratic Party platform?
taking funding back and moving it elsewhere. Right. So pulling some of that funding back
what
and moving
extent?
it elsewhere. To the extent to which we are fully funding social services, to which we are fully funding schools, lunch programs for kids, after school programs for kids. Communities should be clean and they should be safe. We should be funding putting trees up so people have more.
I don't think anybody's going to argue about any of that,
none
trees
of that.
or anything
Correct.
of the
That's
like.
right.
But
Nobody-
But they do.
No. Who?
They do.
Democrats
because
do?
there's always more money for the police budgets, and there is never money for how do we just literally make our communities safer, nicer.
What do we spend a year on education in the United States? Not necessarily just saying individuals, but like, I feel like education is like this is a big number, but I don't think I'm exaggerating when I say like $1 trillion in government-related expenditures on education. Well, now that the Department of Education is gone, I don't know if that looks the same, but we spend a fuck ton of money on education in the United States. There's a reason why, talk shit or whatever, but we have one of the most productive labor forces on the planet and one of the most educated labor forces on the planet. Like,
healthier and that does come to
Megan,
the question. We say
think-
we don't
why
have
do you
enough
think-
money.
Why do you think a number of politicians in your orbit who use the rhetoric of defund the police have kind of taken it back or muffled it or gotten rid of it entirely?
I think you see, different phrasings of the same idea. And, if we're just talking about branding, I think that's not really the exercise we need to be spending a bunch of time on. I think we need to be talking to people about like what makes your community safe. And that is how D.S.A. functions. We have a million conversations on the door. We are out in the communities actually changing minds. Democrats really like a slogan. They like an ad. They like a mailer.
You've made an argument for abolishing the Senate. And we both live in
And
a
you
state
don't? Like-
that has I don't know what multiple of a population of Wyoming, which also has 2 senators. We all understand that. The Electoral College, we understand why it was put in place in the first place and why it's outdated now. But I think we can also agree that the chances of amending the Constitution to that effect are about 0. Does taking that kind of theoretical position, however principled, distract from D.S.A. policies that might really succeed or be more urgent?
I don't think so. I think taking principled positions tells people that you're principled. And I think we see voters really responding to that. And we see people saying, oh, you're actually thinking about the systems. Even Thomas Jefferson, for all of his heinous problems.
These guys hate every single fucking founding father. They'll always qualify the fuck out of, even people like Abe Lincoln, they will qualify the fuck out of anything nice they say about any of these people. Always.
I think he was writing letters to James Madison where he talked about we need a new constitution every 19 years because he did some calculation in his head that that is when a generation changes over.
Where did abolish the Senate come from? Honestly, I bet that they were writing some policy proposal draft paper on some D.S.A. thing, and everybody wants to get rid of the Electoral College or significantly change it, and some retard doesn't know the difference between like the Electoral College and the Senate and the House, so they just wrote like, oh, I guess abolish the Senate, and then nobody really knew what the fuck they were talking about, and people thought maybe this is our new position, but it was like so fucking out there, they didn't want to push back on it in case they would like show their ass as being like a neoliberal or like a normal Democrat, so nobody pushed back on it, and I bet it just like slowly crept into their platform as a result, and now nobody can say anything because it's too late. That's my guess.
And he said people should not be haunted by these rules set for them by previous generations. So this is not actually, it's not a new concept to say like, hey, wait a second, why are we doing this thing this way?
Give me the dynamics within D.S.A. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Zoran Mamdani, too, have been criticized by people in D.S.A. for moderating.
I think they claim that the Senate disproportionately benefits the GOP, so it should be abolished along with the House cap. I mean, it does structurally benefit the GOP. But I mean, like, maybe something should. Like, if we were to get rid of the Electoral College, if we were to rebalance the House, I think these would kind of favor us. Although maybe they should favor us, I cuck out sometimes on some of this, but it's like, if we have a fuck ton more people, like the population, why, like, conservatism is not like a protected class. Why do you need special institutional or structural advantages?
Various positions. AOC took advice
Each
from Nancy
state's
Pelosi,
important,
Mamdani.
and it has its own culture.
Oh, but that's not really true. I think that the biggest cultural divide in the United States is the divide between cities and like rural places, more so than like from state to state. It's one of the reasons why I get so triggered when I hear so many of these fucking retards from California that move to Austin, and they're like, I love Texas way more. I love Texas so much. I'm a huge Texas fan. And it's like, brother, you live in Austin. You're not a rancher, okay? Stop.
I mean, I don't
Retain the
disagree
New
with
York
that, I
City
guess. But like, then what do you do about people in rural counties? Are they just going to get fucked over by
Oh, no.
anybody
I mean, like,
in a blue state policy?
I agree. That's why I'm saying I agree that it probably does favor them a little. But I don't know if we should get rid of every single thing that favors them and just go strictly by population, because then you probably would start to feel underrepresented or not represented. That's why I think it's maybe not the worst thing. Yeah.
AOC took advice from Nancy Pelosi. Mamdani retained the New York City police commissioner from the previous administration.
Yep. So what I think often on the outside looks like infighting or mess. We just call it democracy. We think it's good. We're always happy to pick apart anything, ruthless critique of all that exists, to use a Marxist phrase.
You've quoted Marx now a few times in our conversation.
I did quote Thomas Jefferson too. So
Not happily, not without any
True. Yep, that's true. Good point. Oh my God, he's a non-brain dead conversationalist. Jesus Christ.
critiquing him for all that exists.
You think you're going to get far by quoting Marxist theory in this country, or do you think that that kind of Cold War?
This is one thing that the oldies, okay, they're like Israel on this, okay? They rely far too much on the prevailing attitudes of their generation than they do on, like, or they seem to not understand sometimes, I think, what younger people are thinking in this country. The socialist communist boogeyman, that word was a boogeyman actively with baby boomers, actively with Gen X, passively with millennials. Like, it was kind of like the fear was handed down to us, but we didn't have like any direct firsthand experience with it, and doesn't exist at all with Gen Z. So you're going to have to work a little bit harder on why you think socialism or communism or Marxism is bad, other than just kind of like alluding to it, because most people just don't really care that much anymore about like the boogeyman of socialism or Marxism.
Antipathy to Marx, to say the least, is gone.
I think
And the biggest contributor to that fucking up of anybody understanding what Marxism is or why they should be afraid of it was over the millennial generation from birth till where I'm at now, was Republicans trying to trade heavily on the fear of that word in order to attack Democrats for decades. So
Yeah, they call Obama a communist for fucking ever.
they've
right?
called every one of them a communist. Like CNN, Rush Limbaugh always used to call it the Commie News Network. Yeah, and California, he would call it Commifornia. Like, these guys were obsessed with labeling everybody a fucking communist. So
I think that people see that capitalism is not working for them. And I think, when you talk to people on the doors, they don't care if you're quoting Marx or Thomas Jefferson. They care about whether or not their building is safe, whether or not there are rats crawling around in their children's bedrooms.
Of course, but
And you can say, hey, guess what? There's this thing in Vienna called the Karl Marx Hof, and it's a house, and it's named after Karl Marx, and it is dignified, clean, high quality social housing, and that is a real thing that exists. I think people aren't afraid of.
Is there a model for a politics or a society that is real and existing in this world that you would like to see the United States?
to be fair, Obama was courting the commie boomer class and was very antagonistic to business and capital. How? Didn't he followed through on the auto loan bailouts was strictly Obama,
he did
right?
TARP?
I think TARP might have been Bush, although
It might have been, but he pushed it through, I think.
maybe. I think it was probably, but I think the auto loan bailouts, I think that was exclusively Obama. I'm pretty sure.
It's copy or somehow be close to.
I think.
I wish that
Wait, are you driving? Or are you in the bathtub?
No, I gotta get my wife's dad's sausage. Or salami, not sausage, I guess. So I'm walking.
Be careful.
more socialist experiments could be happening without CIA.
Remember Bill Ayers? How could I not? As a huge conservative listener, I don't think Obama was ever that close to these people, but because my mom would talk about him all the time too, and Michael Savage, that Obama was always supporting the Weather Underground, and he wanted to see more violent terrorist attacks brought back to the United States, and then Obama's crazy pastor or whatever, who was definitely fiery, but like, I don't know. Conservatives, you can't say it, but the problem was that Obama was the black president. They just really didn't like that one. That never really sat well with them. Maybe, I don't know. I mean,
more socialist experiments could be happening without CIA interference, without U.S. sanctions messing with their, But I wish that we weren't doing, spending billions of dollars to
Israel.
destabilize Cuba. I think.
Did we really spend billions fucking with Cuba? It wouldn't surprise me, but
there are lessons we can take from different socialist projects. I think the Cuban Family Code is a really interesting one in participatory democracy, and the way that they changed their constitution to make it more egalitarian, to make it is now in the world the most queer friendly constitution that exists.
Is she talking about the Cuban one? Okay.
I also think, they're in with projects. I wish that we weren't doing, spending billions of dollars to destabilize Cuba. I think there are lessons we can take from different socialist projects. I think the Cuban Family Code is a really interesting one in participatory democracy and the way that they changed their constitution to make it more egalitarian, to make it is now in the world the most queer friendly constitution that exists. Okay. I also think, there are some serious problems, and I think those problems are caused by the fact that we are spending billions of dollars to destabilize them, and they overcorrect.
Queer friendly is a good point. Earlier you expressed some support. I think I was reading you right for Hamas. I wouldn't call that a queer friendly organization, would you?
Remember, Hamas only hates gay people because the United States bombs them so much. Okay.
I would not call Hamas queer friendly. I would not say that you can get a lot of social rights when you're under siege. I think that most queer people who have been killed in Palestine have been killed by Israeli bombs.
There you go.
In the weeks preceding the invasion of Ukraine, D.S.A.'s International Committee released a statement blaming NATO expansion and the United States essentially for the crisis. After the invasion, D.S.A. released a statement condemning the invasion and calling for a ceasefire. And there have been people who have in D.S.A. who have been even more firm about that it was mainly the United States' fault that Russia felt compelled to
the NATO expansion
invade Ukraine. How do you feel about it?
She agrees.
We do not believe in.
Now let's do some. Okay, hit him up quick with the pointless statements about how we don't support anybody invading anybody, and we think that Russia should stop, and we do condemn Russia's crime of invasion. But then immediately after, you got to follow that up with realistically. What do you expect Russia to do when NATO is being so aggressive? Okay, you got this, Queen.
Pouring U.S. money, military weapons into anything, we don't think it makes it better anywhere.
Or we can just start off negatively immediately, I guess. Okay.
But obviously Russia is this oligarchic dictatorship.
Like the U.S.?
Is
like the U.S.?
Hyper-capitalist.
And is capitalist.
Putin is this crazy right-wing oligarch. Of course he is going to make horrific human life-ending decisions.
Well, this is precisely why those countries wanted to be in NATO.
Yes.
But the U.S. is also hyper-capitalistic evil, no?
But why aren't we doing any amount of actual diplomacy? Why aren't we doing any amount of sending actual human beings to talk to human beings and figure out what...
I don't understand what kind of there's been all kinds of diplomacy, however, failed since the beginning of the invasion. We shouldn't send weapons to the Ukrainians.
No.
Okay.
So just allow Russia to overrun Ukraine entirely.
Well,
we should be sending huge teams of diplomats. We should be figuring out how to negotiate, how to get Russia off Ukraine's back. We should, absolutely.
But so do all of that with Russia, understanding that no matter what, we will never, ever, 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 ever do anything militarily. So, okay, makes sense.
Russia would get off of Ukraine's back by us sending diplomats.
I don't think that there is adequate negotiation. I don't think that there has been anywhere near adequate diplomacy.
Okay. Who would be your ideal candidate for president in 2028?
Oh, God.
Surely there's been discussion about this at D.S.A. And what is that discussion like?
So our
she can't say
convention,
AOC because they disavowed her, or I guess kicked her out.
Maybe.
From the national.
True.
2028.
Oh, God.
Surely there's been discussion about this at D.S.A. And what is that discussion like?
So our convention, again, our highest decision-making body, last year passed something that we want to create a labor-left coalition to run a labor-left candidate for president.
Wow.
There are some labor leaders whose names get tossed around. Nobody will be surprised by Sean Fain, of course, gets mentioned. Sarah Nelson, quite popular among D.S.A. members. And then also, there are folks from Congress. Obviously, AOC is the... It's the big question. Is she going to run? We're also seeing progressive candidates who are not socialists, but folks like Ro Khanna seem to be running, kind of laying the groundwork for a run.
Is Ro Khanna not too wealthy for you?
I think there are people in DSA who would potentially endorse a progressive who is not a socialist, and that's part of our internal democracy, and we would hash it out and come to a conclusion, and that would be democratically decided, and then we'd be like, all right, let's do this. If the organization decided to endorse Ro Khanna, I would knock doors for Ro Khanna, absolutely.
Megan, what do you want to get across that I haven't asked you about? I want to be fair here.
There are always questions about these pieces of detail, but the answer is always, we decide it democratically. We decide it together. So if you're looking to me to be the one true arbiter of D.S.A. thought, I'm absolutely not. Who
is? Or that doesn't exist?
D.S.A.
It never will.
It doesn't exist. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Convention, I guess, would be the closest to the one true arbiter of D.S.A., and it happens every 2 years.
Megan Romer, thank you so much.
Thanks so much.
You know, a guy like Abraham Lincoln impressed people not because he was erudite, it's because he was 6'4".
He was tall. He was tall.
He was a giant, strange-looking man who also happened to be like, you know, an erudite, like interesting guy. But the importance of presence, of rhetorical skill, of attention grabbing, these are classic, old-fashioned political skills.
Give me a word that sums up this midterm cycle for you.
Wait, why are these guys talking about Kyla so much? TTS.
Hello? Is this thing working? Can I get a corn pop? Corn pop 先帝倡议为ban而中到邦多。今天加3分，依旧 PV。
And why?
此冲为基存100。
Why are you guys making him stutter in Chinese?
It really sucks that you have been in so much online drama that people can just point to it and ignore your clearly laid out rationale for legitimate issues. Keep pushing your clear voice on intentionally muddy issues. It's not lost on everyone.
You ended it too soon? I didn't end it. I just pushed play.
I will always be your #1 fan.
Thanks, Sykono.
Do I get off watching this clip of Hassan praising me? Yes or no? Definitely yes.
That was a good voice.
I have been getting into gay sex recently. It's not as good as having sex with my sister, but it's still pretty good. 7 out of 10. I'm still straight, though, because anything that turns me on is a woman.
3 meters 46 seconds ago, Cinema Vernanda. The hockey player, are you dumb? Rip Bozo Key.
Hey, you gnome fuck! Play Project Zomboid. Build 42 is out. They ridded the map.
Build 42. Oh, fuck. Is Moten here? Guys, what the fuck is happening with every time it pops up on my Reddit?
Yeah, there.
Why is there some crazy shit going on with the Calamity mod? What the fuck?
What's the Calamity mod? And
we played it.
Yeah, well, what's crazy about it? I know it's the
Oh, I don't know. Some guys always like trying to rape somebody or groom children or something. Right now, they're having like a huge thing where a whole bunch of people are pulling out of the Calamity mod because another developer for it, I guess. They say grooming, he got caught grooming somebody, but I don't know what that actually means because sometimes these people are weird.
Well, yeah, nowadays grooming can be like you were talking to a 19-year-old.
Yeah.
I've secured the salamis.
Did you get the right ones?
Yeah, her dad'll eat anything, you know. I bought 4 different ones, but I'm gonna keep one. One for me.
No one in chat knows? Okay, well. Why do people think it's illegal to collect rainwater in the U.S.? When the government tells you you cannot use the water God dropped on your property. Collecting rain is legal in all.
I've actually always heard that this is. I've always heard that this is illegal. Actually, it's a truism, I think.
Oh, you like it's just an unchallenged statement that people give?
Yes.
I feel like it probably depends on where you live. There's probably ways that it can be illegal, but I mean, like rainwater is technically how all the is it aquifers or aquifers, like all the water things, or the tables or whatever? No, they replenish themselves with rainwater from the mountains and all that bullshit. So theoretically, I imagine you can't collect all of it, but I don't know how much a normal person, like if you collect water in a barrel in your backyard, there's no way that's illegal. So I don't know.
I've also heard it's not safe to drink.
Rainwater?
Yeah, unless you like boil it, is what I've heard. I don't know.
Rainwater should always be safe to drink, I think, except for like acid rain, I believe. I think, but if you collect it somewhere and it sits, then that's not good, I think. The thing is, like, I know there's like, do you remember when we were all growing up and we thought acid rain was going to be the end of us? There are certain, would you call it particulates or things or particles or
particulates?
Particulates, yeah. Aren't there are certain things in the atmosphere. There are certain things that can happen as a result of pollution that can get picked up by water, and so I don't know, but I don't know what those are. If that's like a threat to drink or what, I don't know. Listen. I drink water out of the tap. Okay.
You drink Coca-Cola. Come on now.
True. Storypill defends D.S.A. co-chair's Gaza take. She said she'd have to look at the specifics. That seems fair if she doesn't know the exact details, especially considering the 2000 summit proposals doesn't map neatly at all onto one state solution that the D.S.A. wants. I mean, she should know it before she literally disqualifies candidates and votes not to endorse them based solely on that issue. That's pretty surprising that you wouldn't know anything about it. The reason why it's surprising is because it makes it seem like the actual position is closer to what I said a long time ago, that it is literally and solely only something used to separate Democrats out from more extremist people that you want to support for elections. By having a position that is electorally impossible and by policy is just totally impossible, it makes it so that you can infinitely purity test on it because nobody who's in office is ever going to have your position because it's fucking stupid. That's what it makes it seem like, you know. But, you know, who am I to say? The Calamity side drama, if you care.
I do think
Uh-oh.
it's good to some degree that the Calamity community
Oh, they even have the Calamity gameplay in the background.
is concerned about another Fabsol-like lead dev emerging, but Oz is not, and I have a lot of reasons to think that. First of all, after Fabsol was removed, Ozotron was unanimously chosen by the Calamity developers to be the new leader. After how much turmoil the devs suffered under Fabsol, I find it very hard to believe that they would elect someone who behaves similar to him in any way. And keep in mind that the devs have actually worked with Oz for years, so they know what he's like.
Uh-oh. Welcome to Worm Hell. This is an ideally chill server where people crack inappropriate jokes, vent about things that stress them, and post lots of porn. Oh, God. You must be over 18 to be invited to this server from here on out. Oh, no. Wait, when they say kids were being groomed, do they just mean that like there were kids in these servers that shouldn't have been there, or fuck, wasn't this what the last Calamity mod drama was like? This community, well, all communities for gaming are like super ultra fucking wokey still, but there are so many places on the internet right now, okay? I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but there are so many places on the internet that have pornography. Why do people feel the need to like host novel servers for porn? Well, I don't understand it. It just feels like it invites so much fucking drama. Why?
It's almost like I was on my porn crusade for fucking 6 years and nobody in DGG had a fucking leg to stand on with me.
Ooh. I don't care about this. Okay. Never mind. This is
All right, I bought a Coca-Cola zero sugar cherry flavored. Not good.
Nah.
It tastes just like cherry medicine. I might even toss it.
Damn. The Queen.
No one's putting Hillary in the corner.
Not me. Nope.
No way.
Hey, we know Bill
Hi,
Clinton
everyone.
ain't.
This is Pivot.
You know what I'm saying?
We know what?
We know Bill ain't because he cheated on her in the Oval Office.
I don't know what you mean by that, Mooten. And I don't know why you thought that was an acceptable joke. Fuck you. In this household, we respect Hillary Clinton.
From New York Magazine and the Vox Media Podcast Network, I'm Kara Swisher. And once again, it's time for... Scott-Free August. That's right. Scott-Free August has begun. And in honor of that, I have a very special guest as our first guest co-host. I brought in Scott Galloway's hero, former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton. Welcome, Madam Secretary.
Oh, it's great to be here. I didn't know this was officially Scott-Free August.
Yeah, you're the kickoff.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Where's Scott
Wherever
going?
you are, Scott, have a great August.
We are very excited to have you here. You're one of my heroes, too. And we've had some good times recently to chit-chatting. We're doing stuff. We're talking about things. And you just went to the Liberty game. How did that go?
Oh, my God. Well, you know, because you've been there. It is the most
How old
exciting
is Hillary?
and fun experience.
She sounds still so quick and like
60
with it.
5. That's my guess. Damn! 78? Okay. Have you heard Bill Clinton speak recently?
I think so. He still sounds with it too.
Really? I'm surprised or I would have to see what you heard. Or I just caught a string of bad ones. He sounds rough. But maybe I'm not up to date on him.
Well,
I
you
don't remember
know,
when I heard
because
him.
you've
I feel like I heard him in
been
an
there.
interview.
It is the most exciting and fun experience. I mean, honestly, the way that arena, Barclay in Brooklyn lights up with the Liberty. And of course, Ellie, the elephant, who is naughty and fun.
Did you mind the naughtiness? No.
Well, not at all. No.
Not at all.
She was shaking her tail at me the whole time. I loved it. And they won.
The crowd loved you, by the way. Let me just say.
Well, I love the crowd. I mean, this, going to a Liberty game in the summer in New York, people are in a good mood. They're happy. They're, they cheered literally everything. I mean, if the referee walked, onto the court, they cheered. They were just in such a good mood.
Yeah, absolutely.
I would like to bottle that and make sure that it's available year round. I mean, I would encourage anybody. My husband watches both men's and women's basketball, and I watch some of it as well. But there is just a feeling, and my friends told me this. You told me this, and others told me. Just go to a game. You will have a sport experience. I've been to women's soccer games, but being in an arena with a crowd that is so enthusiastic, it was just an amazing
and a naughty
time.
elephant. And a naughty elephant. Which
A naughty
is your favorite
elephant.
part. As
We should have been a
apparently-
donkey, but it was a naughty elephant.
Oh my God! No.
Jesus.
Okay, that might turn around the Democratic Party.
You think so?
Let me. What? Yeah. No. Question: what have you done the rest of the summer? What are you up to?
I've done a lot of traveling with my family, going out west. Went to Wyoming with my daughter and her husband and the 3 grandkids. Had a great time. Visited some friends in Montana. Obviously the American West is just awesome in every way, and I like to hike, and so just getting out into the mountains.
Yeah. Did you get out to the Dakotas? Do you want to be on Mount Rushmore? Do you think you should be on Mount Rushmore? I was just thinking.
Not only do I not want to be on Mount Rushmore, I don't think anybody else should be added to Mount Rushmore. But it's quite a sculptural feat. I mean, when you do get there and you look at these giant heads on the side of this mountain. Now, I'm also told that kind of similar to the reflecting pool, screwing with it could possibly bring the whole thing down.
No, the faces will fall
I'm just
off.
predicting that there may be conversations happening some places that, Washington, Southern Florida, about trying to figure out how to shoehorn another head into that.
Yeah,
I don't think that's a good idea.
No, nobody does except one person. But can I ask you a question really quickly about the reflecting pool? How are you felt about that? What's happening? Like what Jeanine Pirro did.
Well, first of all, if you go through the chronology, it's really clear what happened. They hired a guy who didn't know what he was doing, and he did what he didn't know, and the result is, the algae center of the universe.
Wait, are they talking about the reflecting pool, or are they talking about the United States right now?
And, I think even Jeanine Pirro says, I can't prove this case. Now, she went in guns a-blazing.
You got to admit, it is a little bit ironic that for a guy who's like 10 plus years had the slogan of drain the swamp, one of the most remembered stories right now about his entire presidency is a giant fucking algae pool. It's kind of retarded.
The swamp he created, yeah.
This I read. And basically, said to the president, it's not my fault, it's his fault, and points to the Interior Secretary, which has some truth to it. I mean, she's a U.S. attorney. She's not the Interior Secretary. She doesn't run the National Park Service. She didn't give the contract to the pool contractor who didn't know what he was doing. And so she survived. She actually had good arguments on her side, and she was unafraid to make them. But it's just another example of the absurd world in which we are living, that you've got the President of the United States obsessing over a failed pool job, a construction job gone wrong, that he oversaw, just like what he's doing now on the South Lawn, tearing it up for the...
Like, remember also, like, the only good thing you were supposed to be able to say about Trump was that he was, like, the real estate guy. And, Jesus.
Helicopter landing zone.
Right.
I mean, honestly...
Did you see
the guy...
the judgment from the judges about his ballroom?
No, what about it?
They ruled that only Congress can do that shit, but they gave him a 2-week stay so he can go beg the Supreme Court.
Aw. Well, does it matter now? Haven't they fucking bulldozed the whole thing and everything anyway?
I mean, yeah, but I don't know what would happen. My guess is the Supreme Court says, yeah, this is illegal, but since you already did it, we're going to let you do it. That would be my guess.
Based.
It is so out of it right now, unhinged, obsessed and focused on all the wrong things. Maybe we should be happy he's messing around with the reflecting pool and, not starting another war somewhere else.
Yeah, we're going to get into some news in a second, but first, did you like the East Wing? Did you want a ballroom ever?
I never really thought about it. What we did, and it was a temporary solution. Everybody did it. If you had too many guests coming, it would be either outside or you'd put up a tent. Now, I'm not against the idea of a ballroom. I'm against this ballroom. I'm against the process the fact there was no process that created this, carbuncle on the side of the White House, which I think is so unfortunate looking. So I don't know. The next president's going to have a big decision. What do you do?
What would
with
you
the
do?
Half-finished
bulldoze everything with his name on it. Everything with his name on it.
I don't know. I mean, the idea of tearing it down is, and we don't know really what's going on underneath it. Under the, several floors down under the White House, there are, security.
Secret rooms, I assume.
Infrastructures. There are, safe rooms. If you remember after 9/11, there's a picture of Condi Rice and Dick Cheney in a room, a very, kind of crowded looking room. That is under the White House. So I don't know what they're doing down there, so you'd have to figure that out too. But I think there'll have to be some, you'll probably have to take down the arch, which he is determined to put up, which I think is just a terrible idea. I think we'll have to worry about the reflecting pool because it's not going to be fixed by the time he leaves, assuming he leaves. So there's going to be a long list. I'm making a list.
Are you making a list? Are you going to de-gold the horses?
De-gold the horses, take down
have you seen them up close?
Gold. Yeah, I saw a
crazy.
picture. I saw a
Feels
picture.
like Saddam Hussein. I mean,
It is like,
seriously.
you know what? That's a very, when I was in Baghdad after the fall of Saddam Hussein, I had meetings. I was then a senator. I had meetings in some of his palaces, and they were quite reminiscent of what we are seeing in our own White House. It's just insane.
Is that hard for you to watch, or just
sad.
you're like, I'll
You know
take
what?
down the
It's
gold?
sad to me. It's sad that it's so tackied up, and it is. It's a reflection of his narcissistic personality and his need to
Right.
feel important, including sticking gold embellishments all over the walls of the
Yeah.
Oval Office. I mean, I was in the Oval Office, under, I think Carter, Bill, obviously,
You know
Bush,
that house. You know that house.
Obama, Biden,
Yeah.
et cetera. And I'm looking at what he's doing to it. And this is a man who can't concentrate. This is a man whose mind apparently goes to where can I add more gold instead of how do I get out of Iran without looking like the loser that I am.
We'll get to that.
How do I begin to, deal with AI, which is a serious threat to our security, our labor force, and so much else. His mind is about...
Truly, Tim Miller's worst take is that he thinks the Oval Office looks good now. Wait, did he say that to me? Or did he say that in another interview? I must have been in friendly mode if I didn't fight on that take.
What are these things that reflect my need to appear important? And so that's what he spends his time on.
You should be the secretary of taking down the gold.
Wouldn't that be a good idea? Yeah. Secretary of cleaning it up. Fixing
Cleaning
it.
up. Oh my, they would lose their mind. Anyway, well, it's already gone.
Why are we
Wait,
arguing?
that's actually a really good idea.
True, actually. Why are we arguing so much about aesthetic slop? Well, aesthetics, you're communicating something. What do you mean? It's not just like the way that things look and appear, like communicates messages to people about, what you value or what. Yeah, that was a bait question. I'm getting one guy. Never mind.
Let's move to the Democrats. As we tape, progressive candidate Abdul El Sayed has narrowly won Michigan's Democratic Senate primary, defeating moderate Representative Haley Stevens in one of the party's most watched races.
Is it just me, or is Kara talking over Hillary way too much and just bungling this interview? Like, let her answer her questions, stop talking over her, stop interrupting, etc. It's frustrating the fuck out of me. It's no, this is just the way she talks. She's a queen, okay? But this is just how she rolls.
Race has been widely viewed as a test of Democratic Party's direction, pitting the progressives against the establishment. Representative Haley Stevens side spent over $64 million in ads in the race, while Al Sayed spent $7.1 million. Al Sayed, who is backed by Bernie Sanders and AOC, will face Republican Mike Rogers in the general election that could help determine the control of the Senate. How much should Democrats read into these results?
Well, I think you have to look at both the candidates and the messages and the support that each had. I know Haley, she was a terrific member of Congress. She was a really effective member of Obama's auto recovery task force. She's a doer. She's a doer, but she's not a modern politician. I mean, she is not somebody who has mastered the art of video and performance online. And I think part of the lesson is that's what people are looking for, or at least half the people. Because as you said, it was absolutely skin tight. The election wasn't even called until just
Who said
recently
it?
this
That you
morning.
don't have to be a content creator to win office, but you have to have content creators like working with you / for you?
I don't know. Did anybody say that?
I'm pretty sure I've heard that, but I think that is very true nowadays.
And so I think we're living in an era where, because of people's, attention spans and their obsession with their screens, they're looking for a candidate, regardless of almost where that candidate might stand or their positioning, but who, first and foremost, they can relate to through the screen. How does that person come across? And I'm just hoping that the people who come across well on the screen are also people who can produce results, because that's not always the same thing, but that's what the evolution of, political contests now is pointing us towards.
Is it more than just the screen? Because, I mean, look, being good at a podcast isn't going to get you elected, right? Exactly. You have to have that skill, as you had to have various skills over the years. But there's this whole idea that there's this sort of struggle within the Democratic Party. And I think of my own son who lives in Michigan. He just liked what he had to say. And there's also a throw the bums out thing. I think he was impacted by the money. He was sort of like, what's with that? And he wanted to be able to articulate it without being like, I don't like AIPAC/Elon/anybody coming in. And he wanted to be able to articulate that without being called anti-Semitic or whatever it happens to be. He just was.
Well, that was going to be my second point. I think that the message was very powerful. And, people are fed up. They want to see results. They want to see government working for them. That's those who voted for Trump. That's what they thought they were getting. And so I do think that the message, which is, very clear, Medicare for all, get money out of politics, and the fact that she was an incumbent, all of that worked to the advantage of Al Sayed. So I think it was a
Is being an incumbent actually a disadvantage nowadays?
I mean,
I
if
would assume
the
not,
candidate is running, if you're fighting against somebody who's running on an anti-establishment platform, then it might hurt you depending on the election, maybe. But generally speaking,
sense.
no. But the D.S.A. are
It's usually
only
a huge advantage.
Yeah, but the D.S.A. are only fighting incumbents, and they are very selective about the races. And LC technically is not D.S.A. But yeah, I mean, nationwide is going to be incumbents that are winning the majority of their races. Yeah.
Is that a huge disadvantage for like our party then? The fact that we literally have to constantly fight in every single fucking district, but like the D.S.A. candidates, et cetera, or like the D.S.A. as a whole only has to fight in like
where they choose. Yeah, a little bit, but I mean, that's up to you to allocate the appropriate resources to fend off those types of attacks. I guess that's all you can do, right? Yeah.
I guess, yeah, it just sucks because you're fighting against not only the Republicans, but also the D.S.A. members. So you're having to spend like fuckloads of money fighting like a D.S.A. person, and then you have to go to the general.
Yep, it's annoying, especially because both of them are similarly advantaged by the same things. So like the heavy, I've noticed that people are finally talking about how if they were to do redistricting in it's Minnesota, that Ilhan Omar's seat might end up going away because when you do the gerrymandering stuff, right? Mm-hmm. The way that gerrymandering works is you're giving a huge advantage to a party by spreading thin your members across as many districts as possible in order to have an advantage in that district. Well, as a byproduct of that, that means that you are cramming as many of the opposition party's people as possible into their own district. And that super crammed district can end up voting in more radical primaries because there are just so many like blue members there that it's not like all the moderates are competing with themselves. And your primary voters tend to be more radical anyway. So,
yeah.
Skills, his presentation skills, which I think are pretty obvious, not an incumbent. He also had pretty broad name recognition because he had run against Gretchen Whitmer. He wasn't totally new to the state or to the voters. And his message was a very clear, simple, straightforward, Medicare for all, get money out of politics. And also, I think there was, some questioning on the part of people like, really, I just want to try something different. I'm just not happy.
Do you ever want to canvass against a D.S.A. candidate in another primary race in the future? Yeah, maybe, yeah. As soon as my court case is over.
Happy with where we are.
What would you do? I'm not asking you for advice, but what should Democrats do about this sort of, and the right is really taking advantage of this, it's the progressive left, communists. Ooh. Those are powerful words. But how do you do about this sort of, and the right is really taking advantage of this, it's the progressive left, communists. Those are powerful words. But how do you, to me, you just say, we have a lot of people. We have a lot of different people in different states. Very different from Mickey Sherrill, very different from Amy Klobuchar, very different from, that kind of thing, or Gretchen Whitmer even. Do you think it is a wake-up call or just a, like, we evolve and we change kind of thing?
Yeah, no, look, I think there's no doubt that, the Republican Party is the Trump cult and the Democratic Party is a bigger tent. We do have a broad cross-section of people, what they believe, what their experiences are. I think that's an advantage, but we also have to win general elections. And so how we pivot and get behind the candidate in Michigan so that we can beat, the Republican candidate, Mike Rogers. That's gonna require a lot of outreach and a lot of willingness on the part of the winning candidate and his supporters to know that they need the people that they were vilifying online, in person. I mean, the kind of things that were said about Haley, her supporters, there were a lot of really nasty personal attacks.
Which you're familiar with. That's nothing new.
I am familiar with it. And one thing that we haven't yet seen enough of is that when the progressives, the left, whatever we want to call, candidates on that side of the Democratic Party, when they lose, they often don't support the candidate that has been nominated. There was a lot of reluctance to support Kamala Harris. There was a lot of reluctance to support me when I got the nomination. So it can't be a one-way street. If we're going to have a fair election, as there was in Michigan, and somebody comes out ahead, a little bit ahead, but needs to get a huge percentage of the voters that voted for Haley, they're going to have to be willing to, get into a conversation that brings those people over. You're not going to convince Republican voters in Michigan, and the real fight will be how do we make sure that people who voted for Haley feel comfortable voting for Abdul El Sayed, and how do we get independents to feel comfortable? And you can see that it's not just about Michigan, but the Republican messaging is communist, socialist. It's going to be a very effective attack. And so people on the left have to be prepared to answer that and to be effective at answering it.
Do you think communist is an effective attack in 2026?
Well, all I know is that's the attack that Trump is leading with, and I assume they've tested it, and I assume that they have reason to believe that it's effective, or they wouldn't be beating the drum on it, because now it's not just him. Vance has done it. Others are doing it. They are trying to, bring back scare tactics about our candidates. And, it didn't work in New York. Mamdani was elected, and there was a lot of money spent against him. When you have an effective candidate on the left, it still is going to be a close race on our side. So then how do these candidates who win, whether they're the, candidate that's the more conventional, so-called moderate candidate, although really moderate compared to what? Not compared to Republicans. They're, very much on the, social justice, redistribution side of the ledger. But if they are going to have to pivot to support the candidate on the progressive left side, they're going to need to feel they're welcome. They're going to need to feel that, a lot of people like your son voted for him. They liked the message, but other people voted on different grounds. I mean, Israel played a role in this election, as we know. AIPAC played a role, as we know. So there's going to have to be, on both sides, an understanding. Look, we got to work together. We're not going to beat Republicans by being divided.
What's the message against Rogers?
That he's a Trump candidate, that he's going to show up and he's going to, vote for the Republican agenda. He's going to vote for Trump. And how well has that worked for you? I mean, even the people in Michigan who voted for Trump, is that what they voted for? Did they vote for the war in Iran? Did they vote for corruption unlike we've ever seen before? Did they vote for tearing down the East Wing of the White House? I mean, there's a long list. So
there's a long list, right?
He doesn't have much maneuver room, or Trump will denounce him, although Trump, can't go too far because he wants him to win. But, Mike Rogers is not a, clone of Trump. He's not a certified cult member. So I think it has to be a two-way attack. Pin Trump on him, but also force him to have to decide whether to separate from Trump,
to
which
be independent,
then
right?
undermines Republican enthusiasm for those who are, the true believers of Trump.
Right. Well, one of the ways they did it as midterms approach, we're seeing an impact of the redistricting wars. The Democratic path to retaking the House has narrowed, according to the Cook Political Report. Thanks to newly redrawn maps across 10 states, the number of competitive swing seats has dropped from 87 to 77. Democrats need to win at least 57 of those 77 seats to take back the House. And meanwhile, Maryland Democrats are trying to fight back. Lawmakers put a constitutional amendment on the ballot that could open the door to redrawing the state's congressional maps. But even if voters approved, the new maps wouldn't take effect until 2028. So talk a little bit about the gerrymandering for the upcoming. You're the first person who said, I'm a little worried to me. And I picked my head up. That's interesting.
No, look, the Republicans, you got to give them credit. They know what they're doing. They have to try to narrow the electorate in order to elect their candidates. And they're purging voters. They're waging all these lawsuits, trying to get a hold of voter rolls. They are trying to intimidate voters. They're trying to undermine confidence in the election. They know exactly what they're doing. And one of their most effective strategies is what they've done with gerrymandering and redistricting over the last years. And Republicans have no doubt about what's at stake. They could care less about good government. They could care less about, trying to figure out how we create an optimum environment for even more people to vote and feel their vote was counted. That's not what they're interested in. They're interested in winning, holding power, and then inflicting their values on all the rest of us. So the Democrats for years, and there was a big movement. We wanted to go to nonpartisan redistricting. We wanted to make sure that, people felt that they could vote in primaries or do what's called jungle voting so they could vote for both Democrats and Republicans at the same time. We did all of this in the name of good government, expanding the electorate, all the right things. Meanwhile, the Republicans on the other side of the aisle were doing everything they could to create a map system that they would dominate. Right. And they did it. So it wasn't enough for them, what they'd already done. Then Trump was looking for more votes because he knew that the midterms would likely be bad for him. So that's when he called, Abbott in Texas. And, I'm really happy that Gavin Newsom was one of the first to say, we're fighting back. We're not going to sit here and be treated like chumps. We're for good government. You're for power, and you're going to dominate us for the foreseeable future. We're not going to live in that world. So we have fought them to sort of a draw, but they ended up with an advantage. And there were a couple of states that resisted Trump until he literally picked candidates to beat the state legislators who thought it wasn't the right thing to do. So they are still on the march to do everything they can to advantage themselves. Our, effort in Maryland fell short because a Democratic, I think, Speaker of the House or Senate pro tem leader was against it. So Wes Moore couldn't get it out of the legislature. So he's trying to take it to a vote of the people. We saw what happened in Virginia, where they went to the extraordinary lengths of getting a new map that they submitted to the voters. You didn't see Abbott doing that in Texas. They just drew the lines and, told people to fall in line. And so when Virginia was overturned, that would have given us, if it hadn't been overturned on what I thought was
crazy grounds,
kind of a procedural, red herring, but they did it. So we lost those potential seats. So this is going to be a real fight.
Most people think it's going to be a slam dunk.
I'm always worried. I think we will still win, but I don't know how big our margin will be.
Which needs to be, the margin's important.
It does. It needs to be big enough to accommodate our big tent and also to drive an agenda in the House. And I still think, like I say, we're going to win. I still think that the efforts that were made for us to fight back, did give us some advantage. I think maybe we'll even see some surprises in the Texas redistricting because I'm not sure they did as good a job redistricting because of the way they cut up black districts. But then along comes the Supreme Court decision gutting the Voting Rights Act. And so all of a sudden, that gave states that wanted to limit black representation another bite at the apple, so to speak.
Yeah, but it didn't work in Missouri. It
worked in Louisiana. It worked probably in Alabama. And so, so they never stop. I guess my point is they're not interested in free and fair elections.
Yeah, so very briefly for the Senate, most people think the Democrats will not take the Senate, but what is your prediction?
I think we still have a 50-50 shot. I mean, it really comes down to Michigan and Maine. Can the new candidate in Maine beat Susan Collins? she has a remarkable staying power in Maine.
Yeah, speaking of carbuncles, So
I mean,
barnacle.
The Maine voters have voted for her while they voted for Democratic presidents, Democratic governors, and Democratic members of Congress. So he seems to be, really vigorously trying. And unlike the problems that we had with the first candidate, he seems to be in, I hope, the stretch to, be able to compete all the way. No surprises. And then back to Michigan, we'll see. We'll see whether, and it's the best year for somebody like El Said to be running. It's the best year because, Trump is so unpopular. His popularity, I think, is down to 33%. So he will have the advantage of running against a Republican when Republican and the Republican brand is not in good standing,
especially with the war dragging on.
Yeah, and a lot of people I talk to about Iran, Kara, say that we're not going to be out of it by the election. It's going to linger.
Jesus. By the midterms or by the presidential elections? By the midterms, I'm assuming she means.
For this country and cause problems in the economy. And just about any way Trump now tries to get out of it, he's going to look like a loser, which I think our candidates can then add to their messaging against Republicans.
Yeah. All right, Madam Secretary, let's go on a quick break. When we come back, Todd Blanche gets closer to becoming Trump's new attorney general.
Oh, I think that already happened, right? This is 2 days old? Yeah. But I mean, it was always because the Republicans will greenlight anybody.
Even a guy who gets kicked out by Trump. Like, he literally got primaried, and then he goes and votes for his guy. Like, just absolute levels of cuckoldry I've never seen before.
Wait, which one are we referring to here?
I think it was Cassidy.
Oh, is he on the way out or something?
Yes.
Damn.
Like, he got primaried by one of Trump's guys.
Was it a special election? Or
Trump gave him an endorsement. He's on the way out.
Okay. Rip.
Not like over.
Oh, he lost his primary. Oh, I see. Okay, yeah. Oh, gotcha. Yeah. Damn. Well, cocked.
Support for Pivot comes from Anthropic. Finding your flow at work can be a challenge, especially if you don't have the proper tools. The good news, Claude is here to help you out at every stage, getting you through the small nitty-gritty and helping you look at the big picture.
Thanks, Claude.
Claude is the AI for minds that don't stop at good enough. It's a collaborator that actually understands your entire workflow and thinks with you.
Damn.
Whether you're debugging code at midnight or strategizing your next business move, Claude extends your thinking to tackle the problems that matter. You can delegate tasks of all sizes, from tedious bug fixes and new feature ideas, then handle other.
What do you do as a Democrat if Iran lingers all the way to the presidential election? We win the 2028 presidency? Bro, who the fuck knows? I still don't even know what the solution for Iran is. I have no fucking idea. That shit is
cooked.
The work while Claude runs in the background. Claude has checkpoints that let you save progress and roll back any previous state instantly. Plus, you can set up workflows to run on a schedule such as daily reports, weekly summaries, and recurring data pulls. All of this can help with your day-to-day operations. For problems worth solving, get started with Claude at claude.ai/pivot. That's claude.ai/pivot. And check out Claude Pro, which includes access to all of the features mentioned in today's episode. claude.ai/pivot.
Madam Secretary, we're back with more news. Senate Republicans advanced Todd Blanche's nomination for Attorney General after he committed to killing Trump's anti-weaponization fund. Republican Senators John Cornyn and Thom Tillis dropped their opposition after Blanche put in writing the fund would not move forward. Democrats argued that changes aren't legally enforceable and warned the fund could be revived in the future. Senate Judiciary Committee voted 12-10 along party lines to send Blanche's nomination to the full Senate, where Republicans hold 53 seats. However, with Senator Mitch McConnell expected to miss the vote, Blanche can afford to lose only 2 Republican senators, and Susan Collins has already said she'll vote no. And great news, Blanche told faith leaders that he was planning to roll back abortion access. That's not great news for women, even in states that have laws protecting it, making Dobbs permanent in every state. How much do you think the Justice Department changes under Blanche compared to the last several months? And how likely is the anti-weaponization fund resurfaces in another form? Now, a lot of people say if you didn't get Blanche, you just keep him there as acting, and what's the difference? Or I'll put someone worse in. Thoughts? Although it's gone from bad to worse from Pam Bondi.
Well, look, I think Todd Blanche has proven himself to be a total sycophant in every way. I mean, he had a fairly robust legal career before he began representing Trump. And he is all in. He's not the Attorney General of the United States. He is the personal lawyer of Donald Trump, presiding over the Department of Justice. And
which he pointed out by accident in that Freudian slip of all time.
I know. And what they've done to the Justice Department, I don't think most...
Wait, what's the Freudian slip? When did this happen? I didn't see this. Somebody link me the memes.
I think he said, like, I'm the lawyer of Trump or something.
If he did, that'd be pretty funny.
People who are not lawyers or don't follow this closely realize what the perversion of justice means. You know, I've heard you and Scott talking about what are the real pillars of the American success, our political success, but especially our economic success over, 250 years. Well, part of that was, look, with exceptions, a rule of law, a Justice Department that we thought was, mostly on the level. A legal system with judges who were more interested in following the law than currying favor to the president who appointed them.
Are you and President Trump friends?
I'm his lawyer. What? Was his lawyer, and now I'm the Deputy Attorney General.
Are you?
Wait.
President Trump friends?
I'm his lawyer. Was his lawyer, and now I'm.
Oh, okay, never mind. It's funny, but okay. No, I thought that was worse than it actually was, but I get it. Okay. But it's still funny. Okay.
That is a key to whether or not we have a confidence in our economic system as well as our political system. So what they've done to destroy confidence in the justice system has far-reaching implications. It's not just about Trump trying to get immunity from having his taxes ever audited. I've been in politics for a long time. I've been audited more times than I can remember. You know what? That's part of the way that you show that there's nothing to hide and you show that you have confidence in our legal system. Trump doesn't want to be accountable to anybody, and he now has an attorney general who is a absolute implementer of whatever grunt or grievance that Trump puts forth. And I think Todd Blanche is extremely dangerous. And the idea that you would say what he said about abortion when allegedly the Dobbs decision was to put it back in the states, that was never their final goal. They always intended to go from returning it to the states to try to prevent the states like Kansas, a surprising red state that consistently votes to keep abortion out of politics, to give women the choice to make what is best for them and their families. They don't want that. They want a uniform national set of, criminal penalties and rules, and Todd Blanche is going to deliver for them the best he can.
How can he do that?
I don't know. I don't know what he means by that.
We never know because they're so creative. They can just literally invent whatever the fuck solution to anything they want at all points in time. So it's hard to know.
What he means is they're going to try to...
With the pills, because abortions are up. Numbers of abortions are up.
That's the irony. If you really wanted abortions to fall, which I've been working for since the 90s. I've been working to decrease teen pregnancy, working to, make abortions not necessary by providing, contraception to people at an affordable way so that they could, make decisions when they felt ready to make decisions, doing more education so that people, particularly young people, knew what was at stake. I mean, there's a lot of things you could do. But if you're going to treat women like they're disposable commodities and they should be barefooted in the kitchen, you're going to get more abortions and they're going to be either legal abortions in the states where they are still available, or they're going to be back alley abortions. And anybody who has studied history or knows anything about this understands it.
Right. So, do you think he could bring back the anti-weaponization fund, or it seems to stick in Trump's craw quite a bit?
Well, I think they will try to imagine the weaponization fund and call it something else and bring it back because Trump wants to reward his insurgents, particularly from January 6th, but others who have stuck with him despite all the evidence to the contrary. They want to finalize this immunity from auditing, which I don't see how they can do that, and I think that can be reversed. So I think he has a checklist. He has the Trump checklist. He's going to go down it.
Right. Would you apply for the anti-weaponization
Just
fund?
for memes? You have to.
Well, I don't think I'd be eligible under their definition.
Oh,
but
really?
I would certainly, consider it if they're going to take care of, the crazies on the right who tried to upset our election and were beating police officers, which is absolutely disgraceful.
So do you think he'll drop this? There's only a limited time he has.
I think they're waiting to see what happens in the midterm. I think a lot of this will wait till after the midterms. And I think it's going to be likely that Trump is even more out of control after the midterms. And let's assume, from my perspective, the best happens. We take back the House, we take back the Senate. He's not going to work with them. He's going to do everything he can to undermine them. He's going to instruct people who work for him not to respond to inquiries or even subpoenas. He's going to be in a big standoff with the Congress. And he's going to be using executive orders and whatever power he has from the presidency to pursue his agenda. I think he'll be pardoning a lot more corrupt people. You look at the list of the pardons that he's given, it's a total transactional exchange. You or somebody on your behalf gives me money. I don't care if you've cheated, elderly people in nursing homes, which one of the people that he pardoned did, to great cost to them, and you owe them billions of dollars in compensation. I'm gonna take the money and just erase that. And I think Democrats can run against some of those pardons. Most people have no idea what he has done.
What he's given out. He's given out.
And what he's taken for it. I mean, the amount of money that he's taken for it.
Right. No, it is coin operated.
It is coin operated.
It is coin operated.
Cyber coin operated too.
Hypo, whatever. Like stick any money in, or you give money and you get a contract with the government. That's the other.
To fix the reflecting pool, whatever it is.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I bet you could fix the reflecting pool. Anyway, speaking of water,
I'd know where to go to get the right people.
It's true. You know a pool guy, right?
Yeah, I do.
Jesus.
I know a pool guy. As we record this, but speaking of water, the U.S. and Iran are reportedly closing in on an interim agreement to reopen the Strait of Hormuz. I feel like it's Groundhog Day here. We've heard that before. Similar deals and arrangements have been made, only to collapse when attacks resumed. Trump said Tuesday night that a lot of progress has been made, though that came a day after he warned Iran could face decapitation if it failed to reach a deal, which he said before he was going to bomb them back to last Sunday or whatever. We're now in the 6 months of this war that was supposed to last for a couple of weeks. Talk a little bit about this.
Are you here right now?
Yep.
Have we made any progress on that?
No.
Are we just kind of like all collectively
closed,
forgetting? Man. Okay, we're just not going to. I saw this tweet earlier that apparently Israel has rejected President Donald Trump's 15-point Gaza plan, with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu saying Israel will not withdraw from its current position until Hamas is completely disarmed. Where is Hamas? How much Hamas is left? Netanyahu has also said Israel does not agree to the latest U.S.-backed draft and has submitted its own changes. The development comes amid separate reporting that during U.S. Central Command Commander Admiral Brad Cooper's recent visit to Israel, Israeli officials indicated that Israel is prepared to resume military operations against Iran unilaterally if it determines that further action is necessary. To do what? We need to slow down, buddy.
I was reading. This hasn't been announced yet, apparently, so I don't know if it's exactly
we got top
true.
secret memes. Okay, tell us. What do you got?
Apparently, Iran's wanting to take 7% of any commerce going through as like a tax, and then Oman would get what was it? It was 4%, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
That's what they're saying.
Damn.
I'm going to make you repeat something I've had you repeat several times, but what do you think is happening here? And do you have any confidence in this latest deal?
Well, I don't have any confidence that it's a good deal, but it may be the best deal Trump can get because he doesn't really understand. I mean, he approved of a ceasefire agreement a few months ago that was a terrible deal for the United States and the region and international shipping, and the list goes on. So He really doesn't understand what is happening and what the stakes can
Trump?
be. So, as I understand this latest attempt at a deal, it would result in fees being charged to at least some category of container ships going through the Strait of Hormuz. It would be a service fee. Now, that has never been applied prior to this ill-conceived war that Trump embarked on. So that's a definite loss. The loss is that what used to be free navigation, a commercial sea lane that was open to everybody is now going to be, in effect, taxed by Oman and Iran. That's the first loss. Second loss is, Iran still has ballistic missiles. It still is producing deadly drones. It is still attacking shipping, and it is still encouraging at least its proxy, the Houthis, to attack. And they went so far as literally to attack a ship in Egyptian waters. So what happened to the destruction of their ability to launch ballistic missiles, to launch deadly drones? That's a third loss. The leadership, he got rid of the people who were at the top, but the infrastructure prevailed. So you now have probably a more militaristic government structure that the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps dominates, and the clerics have been somewhat weakened, but are still useful to keep the regime in place. So that's a third loss. And I think the fourth loss is that a lot of our allies have...
Who's this lady? I feel like she should be in government. I feel like this lady kind of knows some shit.
Watch this in total confusion. I mean, the lack of strategy, the lack of effective implementation, the lack of results that were trumpeted as...
Which is what a rescinding of current war powers from the executive branch of both houses. Didn't we already do that? Or did that vote just not happen? Congress just doesn't.
It didn't pass in Senate.
Yeah.
What was going to
just get rid
be
of the
achieved.
Congress, fuck it.
And people are going to not just start, they have started hedging their bets. I mean...
Is that true that there's never a fee to travel on the Strait? Not to my understanding. I'm pretty sure all global shipping lanes are untariffed, unfeed. Like the Suez Canal.
I don't think pay if like the Panama, but I don't even know if that's
Panama? No, I don't think so. No, like the Panama Canal, the Suez Canal. I'm sure there must be some kind of like world contribution to like taxes or something or some way, because like obviously they have to maintain it and everything like Egypt does and we do in Panama and everything. So you must have some type of compensatory mechanism, I would imagine.
But it's not like 2% of the goods, which is insane numbers. Like these are billions of dollars, man.
Yeah, there's probably some maintenance fee or something.
How are you going to look at the United States, at least so long as Trump is there, with any kind of confidence at all? So I think it's a major loss, not just for Trump, sadly, but for the United States.
Or wait, hold on. Fuck, I would have to look into more of these. The Panama Canal and the Suez, they require...
Those are man-made.
Yeah, and they require like active maintenance to make sure that things can go like through them and everything, right? Whereas for the Strait of Hormuz, I don't believe there's like a built thing there, right? It's just
natural waterway.
Yeah.
Man.
Okay, yeah.
So what the maintenance for what? Them not to shoot us?
To kill all the Mossad dolphins.
Well, two things. Yeah. If he called you and said, Hillary, I want you to get in here and fix this for me, what would you do? And secondly, you said something, you said Putin's in it in a way, Netanyahu's in it in a way.
Yeah, it's called the domain of loss. So let me talk about that first, and then I'll answer the question about if he were to call me or, somebody were to ask me what to do that had any authority. So the domain of loss is a psychological concept, and it applies to human behavior. When you think you're losing, and this is why casinos make so much money and why gambling makes so much money in general, the likelihood is you will double down, until something happens that you either run out of money or you are kicked out of the casino because you can't pay your debts, whatever it might be. Well, the domain of loss is a concept that applies much more generally to our behaviors. And for leaders, it's the description of how they double down on losing hands. So in today's world, Putin is doubling down. He's going to inflict as much punishment as he can on Ukraine because they won't quit. They won't, lie down and die the way that he wants them to. Trump is going to continue to, rant and rave. He's going to go after his enemies. He's doubling. He keeps threatening to double down on Iran. Maybe we'll get out of this. Maybe we won't. And the same thing with Netanyahu. I mean, he's in the domain of loss. So he has to keep, fighting in order to preserve his political, in his mind, his political chances. And it's a psychological.
I also think it is well accepted, right, that he will be prosecuted afterwards, right? Like, I'm pretty sure he's like done the bad things, but I think they have to wait for him to get out of office before he can be prosecuted for it. So he's also kind of like fighting for his freedom, I believe.
Trump?
No.
Yeah, he will be. Pepe.
Yeah, good one.
Logical description of behavior that I have found very useful. So let's say somebody called and said, how do we get out of this? Well, I think you have to broaden the decision makers. One of the problems with Trump is he has a very narrow band of people that he relies on to negotiate everything. And, after a while, that just doesn't work. I mean, even if they were the most accomplished negotiators,
which they're not,
diplomats, whatever, it's the same people you're sending everywhere. It just doesn't make the impact, and it doesn't have the staying power that patient diplomacy requires. So who has the most to gain from getting the Strait open, getting this war over? Well, obviously the Gulf region does, but so does India, and so does China, and so does Japan. And, people who depend upon oil that is either coming from Iran or coming from the region that needs to go through the Strait of Hormuz. And I would have them be playing a very active role in, basically persuading the Iranians to back down from charging fees, which is only going to make their costs go up as oil is transported to them. I would be looking for ways to try to get them personally engaged with the Gulf so that the Gulf Arabs would be similarly sending that message. Why are you raising all of our costs? This is not good for us. It may be in the short term, a tactic, but it's not going to be a long-term strategy. So it would be to expand the base of people that are interacting with Iran and to make it clear that Iran has some, stake in getting this over, getting the Strait open, and being, open to negotiations on its nuclear program, which I think is going to be extremely hard. I told you once, Kara, I started the nuclear negotiations back in 2011 after we got a Security Council resolution that imposed global sanctions on Iran, which had never happened before. And then, I worked with the Gulf, particularly with Oman, which is now a major player in what happens going forward. And we began secret negotiations, very small group of Americans and Iranians to test whether they would be willing to negotiate seriously about their nuclear program. And, eventually we ended up with an agreement. And, people say, oh, it didn't go far enough. Well, it's hard. Doing negotiations is hard. And we've seen the alternative. We've tried to bomb their nuclear program out of existence.
We haven't decapitated them.
We have not, we've decapitated, but we haven't ended the regime or its ambitions.
Right, and it continues to be so.
Well, doesn't decapitate. It should be ended, right? Decapitate means just dismembering by the head, right? That's what decapitate means, right? I'm pretty sure.
What do you think his next move will be?
I think it depends upon his mood. I mean,
True.
He is the most impulsive, moodiest president. It depends upon how he's feeling, how he's being treated, what is being said about him. The Iranians have played him, sadly, very effectively, because every time he says there's an agreement, they say, we're not negotiating. We don't know what you're talking about.
And then he baby rages.
If he can be quiet and try to figure out how to get a better deal than it seems like the one that is being offered could be, maybe he can get himself out of this in, a couple of weeks. Otherwise, it's going to be a ping pong game. He's going to get upset. He's going to attack. And we're running out of munitions. We're running out of missiles.
Decapitate means to reduce by 10%? No, that's delineate.
Actual bombs, yeah.
And one of the great tragedies of this unnecessary, not well-planned war in Iran is that we should have been doing more to help Ukraine to defend itself against Russia. They've run out of Patriot missiles. They can't defend against Russia's missiles. Putin is, just angry and determined to just beat them into submission, kill as many civilians as possible. It's not going to break the Ukrainians, but it's unnecessary, terrible cost of human life.
Or we could have had a win there.
Literally, we could have helped the Ukrainians end the Ukrainian war by helping them defend themselves.
And he would have gotten the Nobel Peace Prize.
I think, I'm the one, I said this months ago. I said,
oh, she did.
If he got an honorable peace with Ukraine, they don't have to give up any property. They can go back to running their country. I'd nominate him for the Peace Prize. But he's more interested in his relationship with Putin.
Yeah.
I don't know
tweet, I think.
all the reasons for that. But, he wants Putin's favor even more than he wants a Nobel Peace Prize.
You would nominate him. Can you tell them, I don't know if you're willing to tell this story, but that picture of you and Obama laughing, which is the second meme that's taken off, what precisely were you telling him right then when you were laughing for people to, it's so funny.
Well, I was sitting behind him at the opening of their, very impressive Obama Presidential Center in Chicago. And I hope people get to go visit and come visit our Presidential Center. I mean, presidential centers really try to tell the history that Trump and others don't want you to hear. So we were sitting there. I was sitting behind him. And Michelle Obama was giving this incredibly clever speech, touting all of Barack's many accomplishments. And then, she got to, and of course, you received a Nobel Peace Prize. And I burst into laughter. He started to giggle. I poked him in the back and I said, oh my God, I am sure Trump is watching this. He thinks he's now in the third circle of hell. I mean, the way that she just tweaked him about the Nobel Peace Prize. And he goes, yeah, I hope he is. It was great.
Yeah. So the two of you had
former president wishes hell on current president. Not good, guys. Very divisive.
That moment. Do you like your little memes, your little Obama memes?
I do. I mean, it's fun for me because, I never know what might become a meme. I'm just out there living my life and all of a sudden there's a meme. But the first meme was with me in sunglasses looking at my BlackBerry, I think, 100 years ago.
Like, fuck you. That was the fuck you
on a
meme.
plane, yeah. And two young men did that meme. And I thought it was so funny. I invited them to the State Department so that I could meet them so we could take a picture. I said, here, we'll have a real picture. So, yeah, I get a kick out of it. And
you get a lot of memes.
I have a lot of memes, yeah. Some are good, some are not so good. But, it's kind of, it kind of goes with, the life that I lead.
I like the one of Trump looming behind you memes. That's
oh my God, that was so bizarre. People still talk to me about that. I mean,
it was disturbing. I wished you had turned around and said, what are you doing? Like,
yeah, I've thought about that 100,000 times, as you might guess. And it was, I was thinking about it in real time because he's looming over me. Because
he's tall. People don't realize
he's
quite
tall. And he's bulky. And, he's got a big, physical presence. And so I'm thinking to myself, as I'm also trying to answer questions, I'm thinking, okay, if I turn on him and say, what are you doing? Or back off, does that look like I can't handle him? Does that look like I am rattled? Does that look like I, am a woman who shouldn't be in the Oval Office? If I ignore it, how does that, approach, how do people feel that is communicating? So I ignored it. I mean, that was what I eventually decided to do because I didn't want to look either like I was being made to be nervous. I think he was trying to actually provoke something out of me.
Yeah, he was. Yeah.
He was. And I wasn't going to give him that. But in retrospect, there could have been some, great.
Good stuff. Yeah.
Good pushbacks.
What the fuck, you creep? Like,
yeah,
anyway,
exactly. Back off, you creep. Yeah.
Back off, you creep. All right, Madam Secretary, let's go on a quick break. We'll be right back.
Support for the show comes from Rippling. Imagine you just found out your sales team is at risk of missing quota. No need to panic. Just ask Rippling AI. Since it's built on your real-time people and business data, Rippling AI can pull metrics from Rippling and Salesforce into a meeting-ready dashboard showing quota attainment, headcount trajectory, and monthly revenue to quota by region. In seconds, you can see exactly what's behind your quota risk and fix it before it's missed. Question answered, action taken, crisis averted.
Thank
so
God.
when
That
you have
sounds
critical
awesome.
business questions that need answers, don't just file a ticket and wait weeks for an outdated report. Describe what you need and have Rippling AI build it instantly from your live people and business data. Whether it's a dashboard with detailed charts or automated workflows with the right triggers, conditions, and approvals. Ready to rule your business? Head to rippling.ai/pivot to get the only AI built to give you full visibility and take complex actions across your entire organization. That's rippling.ai/pivot. Sign up for exclusive access today.
Thanks.
Okay, Madam Secretary, we're back. Big picture question for you. What's the biggest story that isn't getting enough attention?
I think it's how we're going to govern AI. I mean, there's attention being given to it, Kara, but there's no real action.
True.
You know, this government, other governments are wringing their hands. They know that we're heading into a totally unknown world. If I were able to wave a magic wand, I would be having literally a huge diplomatic effort with experts and, you know, really
The expert class?
other people
Really?
from different parts of the economy besides AI, literally working on treaties and covenants and rules and standards and basically bring the world together against, you know, the tech companies because, you know, there's no way to deal with what is coming at us unless we have some kind of global response. And that's just not happening. I mean, there are conversations, you know, the tech CEOs were in Washington yesterday talking to Trump, but, you know, he wants to take pieces of their equity. He doesn't want to govern in any effective way about what they're producing other than things that might be totally scary to national security. But I just feel like there needs to be some global effort to try to get ahead of this insofar as possible.
Insofar as possible. So this is the story. I think data centers are the proxy politically
I do
for
too.
people's worries about
And
it.
can you
know, it's
blame
really-
people? I mean, these
No.
big hulking
Noisy.
concrete buildings that
Dirty.
make all kinds of noise and suck up water and get put onto your grid and maybe raise your prices. I mean, these questions need to be looked at. I mean, I was approving of Kathy Hochul when she, you know, put on a moratorium. Let's figure out what this means before just, you know, willy-nilly going ahead. So I think people's instincts who are showing up at city council and county commissions and all kinds of political forums to say, no, we don't want this, or at least tell us what we're getting and how to make sure that it's not going to be harmful. I think people have a good instinct about this.
Yeah, a mayor of Lansing was telling he had a good deal and the people wouldn't accept it because they're so angry at it. You know, you can't even do a good deal. It was, you know,
But, I mean,
ecological.
we don't really, does the mayor of Lansing really know what a good deal is? Wouldn't it be good if we took a hard look at our very creaky grid and said, here are things you have to do in order to buttress the grid? I mean,
Nope, nobody cares.
It's bigger.
Nobody
Local
wants to
people
look at
shouldn't
the,
be
nobody wants to think about
it's
those
too
things.
big. It's too big,
Right.
and the issues are national and even global.
Yeah, absolutely. I yelled at Tony Blinken at a dinner many years ago saying we have to have global AI standards. And he just nodded
From
at me at
local
the
to
time.
global, right?
Global. I said it's global. It's a global issue.
Yeah.
All right, moving on. What are the three most important qualities a Democratic presidential candidate needs to have in 2028?
That he or she can win
No
the Electoral
Israel.
College. That is the only quality. And because we don't know what's going to appeal to the electorate. Will the Democratic primary voters want a relief after Trump, a counterpoint to Trump? Will they want a fighter, somebody who is just, you know, fists up all the time? We don't know. So seeing who gets through the Democratic primary is right
Which
now
is going to be a rumble. There's a lot of people.
It's totally unpredictable. But
Right.
then you got to be able to win. And it's, from my personal experience, that doesn't mean getting more votes. It means winning the Electoral College. And that is hard for Democrats. And it's something that a lot of Democratic primary voters are understandably not thinking about. You know, I'm going to vote for who I like. I'm going to vote for who's expressing my anger. I'm going to vote for, you know, the person that, you know, I think can be the best fighter. All of that's great. But somewhere in the back of your mind, you need, can this person win the Electoral College? And at the end of the day, if we're going to win, that's what matters.
That's all that'll matters.
That's
It
all
wouldn't
that
be
will
if it's a
matter.
man or a woman or
No.
No.
But I don't think we should be preemptively disqualifying anybody. Let everybody get out and compete and see who emerges. And I hope it's somebody who can be a good president, not just win, but can also, going into office, be prepared, like we were talking about earlier.
For
clean up, fix things.
Clean up.
You know,
Yeah, there's going
to be so much to fix. I mean, first, get rid of all of the holdovers. Do not let anybody hang around in some small office somewhere who can literally subvert your program, and you don't even know that person's there. And I will predict that, Trump and his minions are going to try to,
put people.
They're going to try to move people from political appointments to so-called civil service appointments, although they're trying to destroy the civil service. So people are going to have to be really searching to make sure that they are not going to be literally subverted from within the government.
That's a really good point. That's a really smart point.
The actual deep state.
Is there, very quickly, is there any Republican candidate you're looking at that you think is trouble?
No, I mean, obviously everybody's talking about, Vance and Rubio.
Creepy.
I don't know, but I think there'll be a lot of Republicans running. The real question is, what will Trump do to try to hold on to power? Will he stay? He when he goes around putting that, third term hat on, you always have to take Trump at his tell. This is a tell. He would love to serve a third term, or at least he'd love to have the power of a third term if he can.
Do you see how close we are to de facto removing the Electoral College? Well, the final few would be the biggest deals because then people would really start to consider it. However, I don't know if I would trust that plan, that interstate compact. I think I would have to see it change via constitutional amendment. Otherwise, I don't think I would support that plan because the issue would be, if I'm understanding this correctly, it's kind of like an informal agreement, or you could bake it into state law saying that whoever wins the popular vote will put our electoral votes in that direction so that you effectively get rid of the Electoral College system. But especially if they're just state laws, could you not really, I could see a Republican state reneging on that if they think that it's advantageous to them. This is why I would like to see this enforced at the constitutional level. So I wouldn't trust state laws on any of that. I really don't trust the state Supreme Courts. Look at the Virginia shit. Can be wacky as fuck, redefining what a day is. I don't know.
Install somebody as the,
That's a good point. Yeah.
President that he controls. And so who's he going to pick? Who's he going to be behind? And is he looking for an opportunity to try to upend that election? He's acted like he didn't care about the midterms, but he has $400 million sitting in a super PAC.
Right.
And
he's got
his
Elon
buddies,
Musk
like Elon and others, have said they're going to spend whatever it takes to try to prevent the Democrats from winning in the midterm.
Right.
So is he going to be very active, spend a lot of money to try to prevent the Democrats from winning or keep their margin at a very, small number, and then just basically do everything he can to undermine them? Is he going to want the contrast of a Democratic Congress that he can play off against? I don't know what their game theory is about the upcoming elections, but I do know he doesn't want to give up power. So what is he going to do? Is it a proxy? Is it him? Does he figure out some bizarre way to get Todd Blanche, the Attorney General, to side with him? The 5 of the Supreme Court justices that are, movement conservatives to side with him. Who knows? But I think we have to watch all of that.
Well, that means, Obama can run again. Bill can run again. You can run again.
That's what we've been joking. We say, okay, so Obama can go for a third term. My husband go for it.
No, actually. If I recall correctly, I think I don't know, actually. Wait, what exactly are they talking about? Hold on. Wait.
The Supreme Court justices that
the way that I remember, they're talking about a different path, but there was a constitutional amendment proposed. I don't think it actually got voted on anything, but the way that they proposed that amendment was that if somebody hadn't been president for 2 consecutive terms, and I think the way that it had been, I think that was the way that it had been phrased. So Obama wouldn't be able to run again, but Donald Trump would. It was an unbelievably fucking retarded the way that they'd phrased it, I think. But I don't think any of this would ever get passed.
They're, movement conservatives to side with him. Who knows? But I think we have to watch all of that.
Well, that means, Obama can run again. Bill can run again.
Well, that's what we've been joking. We say, okay, so Obama can go for a third term. My husband go for a third term. I mean, okay, if you're going to go for third terms, let's look at everybody who's eligible.
Yeah, let's do it. But he would lose his mind. He would lose his mind, although it would be amusing in a different universe. All right, we're going to do a few rapid fire questions for you that are more fun for you. All right, what TV show are you watching right now?
Well, I'm about to watch the new season of Ted Lasso.
Oh,
So
wow.
I love Ted Lasso and Jason Sudeikis and Hannah Waddingham.
It's Waddingham.
Waddingham. And cast members were at the Liberty game when I was there because this season he is convinced to coach a women's team. So I am really excited about. I think it starts tonight or tomorrow. I mean, it's going to be a lot of fun,
really.
and we need some. Some positive, good feeling going on again.
Yeah. He's there a lot, Jason. I ran into him at the Liberty game. Yeah, he's always there.
I had a
He's
great
like
conversation with him. He's really excited about this season. He
Speaking of Hannah, did you see Ride or Die? It kind of reminds me of you, Hillary. I can see you as an international
She is
assassin.
amazing. I really...
She is. She's a tall drink of water.
Yeah, she is a tall drink of water, but she is so much fun. She has a great sense of humor.
Watch Ride or Die.
Okay, I got Ride or Die. I'm writing it down.
Ride or Die. You will love it. It's so funny. I finished it last night. All right, you're the grandmother of 3. What do your grandkids call you, and what's your favorite thing you do with them? I see you're wearing a necklace with your granddaughter's name, actually.
Yeah, well, also my grandsons. All 3 of them are on this little necklace. They call me Grandma, and I just like doing anything with them. I like... hanging out with them. I like swimming. I like hiking. I like watching funny television shows with them or whatever they're interested in. I like reading with them. I mean, literally any time I get to spend with them is, just a delight for me. It is the only experience in life that is not overrated. It is really worth waiting for.
Do they know who you are? Do they have a sense of who you are?
I think, I remember my grandson found a book in his school library that was about me, one of these little paperback books about my life. And he checked it out and he brought it home and he said, "You have a book about you." So I think I think they know that their grandfather was president. I think they know.
Also, when your grandkid comes up to you, "Grandma, what did Seth Rich do to you?"
That I was a senator and secretary of state. I'm not sure they fully grasp it, but they find it, somewhat confounding. Like, when did this happen to you? What did you do?
Right, absolutely. So Bowen Yang is the latest star to step into the role of Mary Todd Lincoln. Speaking of...
He'd be good at that role.
Yeah, in Oh, Mary. If asked, would you serve?
No.
No. Yeah, okay.
I mean, the amount of physical comedy that Mary does, wow. Yeah. I'd have to work out for a year in order to get ready.
Well, you're looking good, by the way.
Well, thank you.
I always play myself on TV and movies, but you've had a lot of people portray you over the years. Well, who's your favorite?
Oh, she was in The Devil Wears Prada too, by the way.
Hillary Clinton.
I really don't have one, because I try not to watch them. So I've never seen anybody portray me.
No, so you don't have a favorite. I guess it would be Kate McKinnon, right? Because you did appear with her.
Well, I was thinking of the more dramatic
presentation. So you don't watch them.
I loved Kate McKinnon. I love her as a person, and I thought she did a great job as me.
So you don't watch any of the other Hillary Clintons? I couldn't resist.
I don't.
One of the Murdochs told me he didn't watch Succession. I didn't believe him. I
bet they did, or else they had somebody watch and summarize it for them.
So you didn't watch any of them? There's a lot. I've watched all your Hillary Clintons. I have to tell
you. So who's your favorite Hillary Clinton?
Emma Thompson. It's not my favorite movie, but I thought Emma Thompson was good.
Well, she's a terrific actress.
Yeah, I would say she did a good job. She sort of issued.
I'll put that on the list for
All right.
I'll watch
okay.
it.
Oh my
I'll
God.
watch it in the next decade of my life.
Can I watch it with you? No,
sure.
That'd be awkward.
They get like a little Discord date.
Out. I like popcorn. A little bit of butter, not too much.
Let's go with Kate McKinnon on that one. All right, Madam Secretary, one more quick break. We'll be back for predictions. Okay, we're back. Do you have a prediction?
I feel like Dems are just healthier and happier than Republicans. Hillary is hiking at 78. Biden is cancer and still kicking and being there for Hunter and the rest of their family. Pelosi's still running around. Meanwhile, Trump is just rotting in real time. MAGA can't stop running. CP holders, abusers, etc. One of them literally died in 24 hours and another's currently in dead-ass purgatory. I mean, kind of true, but also MAGA is distinctly different from, like, traditional Republicans. So I mean, like, they weren't always this insane.
For us?
Like 15 years ago, at least Republican lawmakers, I don't know about the fucking voters, because who the fuck knows anymore about the voters, but the lawmakers would have looked at somebody like RFK Jr. and like the Bear story and all the they would be like, what the fuck, guys? No.
Yes, I do predict that we will take back the House. I predict that, even with all of the obstacles. And I predict we have a slightly better than 50-50 chance to take back the Senate, even with all of the obstacles.
All right, that's a good prediction. I'm going to make a very brief prediction. David Ellison wrote an op-ed in the New York Times saying Democratic state AGs are fighting him in court because of false perception about his politics. I don't really care. I don't like D.S.A. very much. But the antitrust trial is what he wanted to start in November. Paramount did. The judge set for March. I think there's going to be a settlement. There has to be. This is economics.
What do you think will be in the settlement? Do you have any thoughts on that?
I don't know. It depends on. I think Rob Bonta played this rather well, and will probably be governor of California at some point. I mean, I think he's done.
He's been a good attorney general, and I like him.
I think he surprised them. I thought they were arrogant, and I think I don't know. Maybe spinning off the cable networks, spinning off CNN. It's hard because if they get rid of CNN, they make a lot of money from CNN right now.
Really, so they make money from CNN.
They do $700 million. It's profitable. Huh. So they need the money because of the $80 billion in debt. It's a real financial. Even as people as rich as the Ellisons, they're going to have to give up a lot of money to own something that they may not want to own. So
you think there'll be a settlement between now and the start of a trial in March?
Yeah, wouldn't you? You're a lawyer.
Well,
what would you do?
I think, doesn't he have a breakup fee or a delay,
delay fee?
By June.
Yeah, there's a delay fee and a breakup fee.
Yeah,
so
the delay fee.
I
think the delay fee starts in October. So, I mean, he's going to be paying a lot of...
Do you ever get weirded out by her old email stuff? Wait, what stuff?
Money because he can't close the deal. So there may be economic reasons.
Yeah, it's $1.2 billion by the trial itself. And then there's a $7.7 billion breakup fee. But that's not a lot of money to them, but it is a lot of money, given the Oracle stock has declined rather precipitously. And there may be, as you note, an AI shakeout. So we'll see. I think.
Do you mean like just the email thing in general? Like do I get weirded out by it? I just don't understand the question. What do you mean weirded out by it? Like, I think there was some huge wrongdoing there or something. I mean, based on everything that I saw, it didn't really seem like it. But I mean, like, it's so hard to compare to, like, the current Trump cronies. I mean, like, these people were investigated so much, and these people sat for, like, so many depositions and answered so many questions. And, you know, they were willing to go through so much. And then I look at the Trump guys who won't literally sit for a deposition for fucking anything ever and have never truly been investigated on anything ever. It makes it. I feel like the reason why people on the Russia side and everything got so ass-pained about Hillary's server was that was the thing they weren't able to hack. They probably got so fucking ass-pained when they hit those DCC servers, and then the Podesta I think came from that, right? And the DNC stuff, that Hillary was using a private server because that means they didn't get access to all of her emails. So they probably got mega ass-pained.
They're going to have to settle.
I am worried about the AI, shakeup. I'm worried about the debt. I'm worried about all of that, which is kind of why I want to see some legitimate effort taken to kind of figure out how to normalize or regularize this market
and get people to like it, because the polling is terrible. The polling is just
people are scared. They're scared they're going to lose their jobs. They're scared that it's going to take over the world. I mean, so either people are just going to live with this fear and we're going to just go full speed ahead into whatever the future is, or we're going to try to at least have a process that might make a difference. That's what I'm for.
There could be a real stock decline, which will hurt everybody. And of course, probably hurt Trump more than anybody, if you think about it, because he's sort of put his whole lot in with AI in a way that feels corrupt.
Yeah,
I guess.
A little.
Well, I think, you mentioned the data centers, and one of the candidates, my friend, Sherrod Brown, who's running in Ohio, he's now calling his opponent the face of data centers in Ohio.
Yeah, it's working.
He's been all in on data centers. So the political issues are going to get played out one way or the other, but at the end of the day, we still need some kind of governance mechanisms.
That is correct.
Evaluation of the upsides and downsides, some restraint on what they can and should do or not. So that's my hope.
Such common sense, Hillary Clinton.
Oh, I know. I'm so out of date.
You might have been a good president.
Old-fashioned. I mean, truly, really. That I'm just a walking anachronism.
Yeah,
believe in all of these things that I still think would work if people actually paid attention.
Yeah, well, Hillary, it's time for you to start to speak up more. As you know, I think that. Anyway, we need all the good ideas we can get in this country going forward, I think, in a lot of ways.
We're both going to have to get out there and talk as much common sense as we can. Okay?
No one's putting Hillary in the corner. I see.
Not me.
Anyway.
No.
No way. Anyway, you've been wonderful. I really appreciate it. I just want to know, we want to hear from you listeners how you like this. Send us your questions about business, tech, or whatever's on your mind. Go to nymag.com/pivot to submit a question for the show or call 855-51-PIVOT. Okay, that's the show. Thanks for listening to Pivots and Scot-Free August. Hillary, I think you've done an amazing job. Be sure to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We'll be back next week. And again, thank you so much for joining us, Madam Secretary.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Kara.
Wow, cute.